Let's learn about defining functions. You can create your own functions in Python. In fact, this is one of the most powerful features of programming, the ability to create your own functions. There are two major pragmatic advantages of functions. First, they allow us to reuse a chunk of code in multiple places. Second, they allow us to debug a chunk of code in isolation from the rest of the program. To create a new function, you use the def keyword, which stands for define. You write def, the name of the function, and open parentheses, each of the parameters separated by commas, a closed parentheses, a dash and a greater than, the return type of the function, and a colon. The parameters need their variable names, a colon, and the parameter type. This entire line is called the header. When you call a function, you're executing the code stored in the body of the function. Everything inside the body should be indented 4 spaces. In the block version, this is shown visually with the bar on the left. The body must be there. In other words, the body cannot be empty. Usually, you should use a verb as the name of the function. The name helps other programmers understand what the function does. Naming a function is just like naming a variable. It may only use letters, numbers, and underscores, and it cannot start with a number. After you've defined a function, you can use it by calling the function. As we did before, we combine the name of the function with calling parentheses. Note how we still pass in arguments. Here, we call the function add5 twice, first passing in the argument 10, and then calling it again with the argument 3. When you define a function, you can choose to add in parameters to the header. These parameters will take on the value of the arguments when the function is called. This can be very tricky to understand. Each argument exactly matches one parameter. In the code below, the parameter first will match to 3, -2, and 10. The parameter second will match to 8, 5, and 10. Remember, each function call happens one after the other. In modern Python, we specify the type of each parameter. So far, we know of 5 types: int, str, float, bool, and none. Anytime you call that function, the arguments must match the type of the parameter. We describe what type of value the function returns using the arrow and a type in the header. But note that it is the return statement that actually makes a value get returned. The header just describes what should be returned. When you call a function, a value is always returned. Even if you forget the return statement, the special value none will be returned. If you're writing code in the console, then you will see any none values appear. But if you're writing code in a regular editor, the value will not appear in the console unless you use print. We will sometimes print the result of calling a function, but remember that printing is not necessary to call a function. Sometimes we just want to define a function without writing its body just yet. We use a special statement named pass to fill in the body until we're ready to write it. Pass is a very special statement. It does absolutely nothing but take up space, telling the computer to pass over this line. Since we always have to have a body, if we didn't put the word pass there, Python would crash with a syntax error.